That's the deal. So band is going to come.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer. Served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
If you're watching on YouTube, you probably saw me screaming but couldn't hear me. Sal Frelick, RBI base hit, 5-4 Cubs, second and third now. Should be tied. I don't know what happened. We're watching on FanDuel Sports Network in the studio. Frelick, earlier in that same at bat, he went down the left field line. Both runners were hustling, both scored. I was like, yeah, tie game. And they say, I know. I look up at the screen and Frelick's up still at the bat. I'm like, wait a second. And Charlie's like, yeah, I think they called it foul, which stunk, but whatever. So Frelick scores 5-4, second and third now because they threw home. And up comes Caleb Durbin. Can I just point something out? I really hope Isaac Collins doesn't go into a funk coming off of that paternity leave because he was rolling so good, Charlie. And I'm not going to sit here and say you should miss the birth of your first child for baseball or whatever, but damn. Like, he just doesn't, I don't know. I mean, only a couple of bats today, whatever. He may come up and hit a big hit later in the game. But
Tommy brought it up before the show. He was talking about that new dad strength that some of these guys get. You see it in all the sports, you know. Brand new dads, they come back and they just ball out for like 2 weeks. He's already been balling out, so it should be even better.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. It doesn't look like it to me so far, but we'll see.
It's one game.
Caleb Durbin here has a chance to not only tie, but put him up with second and third and a couple of outs. Now, earlier in the game, Ortiz had the bases loaded, couldn't get him in. Then we had two on, and what was it? It was a ground out by Yelich to shortstop, I believe. I mean, I feel like almost every inning they've had two or three guys on base and just haven't been able to get those big hits to get that big crooked number up on the board. It's been a run here, run there, and it's only the sixth inning, so there's plenty of time left if Durbin can't get this done. But my, oh my, if he can figure out a way to get this lead for the Brewers or at least tie it to back at 5 going to the bottom of the sixth. Because, you know, if you're the Cubs, you're just dreading the fact if they tied or take the lead, you're going to be down in the dumps on yourself again going, here we go again to the Brewers, right?
That's how it's been feeling. I mean, I feel like you need to win this game. Like I said earlier in the show, if you're the Cubs, you need to get something. Again, get the monkey off your back. And right now, the monkey's clawing at you.
Yeah, it is. No question. Durbin swings and misses chasing at a pitch out of the zone in the dirt. So still 5-4 now, Cubs within a run. But see, again, for the majority of the time during this run, they've come up with the big hits at the big moments. And they're just dunking away, right? Leaving a lot of guys on base, but they're clawing back. Now down a run. And as a Brewers fan, down a run, you feel pretty good about having to deal with that Cubs bullpen the rest of the way out here. You got 9 outs to work with. You need 1 run, Charlie.
There's no other bullpen I'd be more confident against than the Cubs bullpen.
Yeah,
most of
you
the time.
think so?
No matter how good they are, I just feel like the Brewers, first of all, find a way to just break them up. And whenever the team
Every bullpen. Brewers go after every bullpen hard.
But the Cubs, whenever they lose that momentum, too, that they have earlier in the game, the bullpen is just another part of that team that feeds off that momentum. When the momentum's gone, they halt just like everybody else.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely right. All right, so there's your Brewers update. Brewers now down 5-4 in the 6th.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan with Steve Sparky Fifer.
All right, let's get into our training camp recap before we get to the Bears. Again, looking around the NFC North today while the Brewers game is going on. Paul Farrington just joined us. Talk about the Vikings. Lorin Cox, host of Locked On Bears, also covers the Badgers. How about that twist? For SI, he'll join us coming up here in about 12, 13 minutes. Charlie Sounds of the day at 3:40. And then when the Brewers game is done, we'll do a little post-game show coming up at 4 o'clock once this game is done. So this is what happened today. Returning back to practice today, Lucas Van Ness and Kenny Clark, both coming back from back injuries that have kept him out. That's good. Did not practice today. My God. Aaron Banks out with a back injury. Jacob Monk, hamstring injury. Savion Williams, hamstring injury. Marshawn Lloyd, hamstring injury. Baron Sorrell, he got hurt in that game, knee injury. Omar Bonner, remember he was in the hospital, chest injury. Zane Anderson, knee injury. That happened last week. Xavier McKinney, calf injury still. I don't think he's ready till week 1. Jaden Reed, foot injury. He was in that walking boot a week or so ago. Dontavian Wicks, calf injury for him, and Nate Hobbs, knee, he also isn't going to be ready to week 1. But when we get to week 1, it's going to be the first time these cats have played football since the beginning of training camp for a lot of these guys.
I feel like we may not have the most exciting week 1 from this Packers team.
And they play the Lions.
Yeah, it sounds like expectations shouldn't be too high for them going into that game. At the same time, if they go out and win that game off a lot of these guys not having a whole lot of preseason experience so far this season, that would be a pretty good sign on the opposite side of things. So I think if they go out and lose that game, it's all right because you have lower expectations because the team's not ready. If they go out and win that game, then you're going to be pretty excited. So I don't really think there's that much of a losing situation here.
Charlie Usen over there, Steve Sparky Fifer with you as we broadcast live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. All right, so you got your one-on-ones that happened. I'm not going over one-on-ones. In fact, there was a guy covering Packers training camp earlier today that tweeted out that yesterday the rookie beat Keyshawn Nixon. Matthew Golden beat Keyshawn Nixon a couple of times. And today, Keyshawn Nixon apparently locked up Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden quote tweeted this dude and said, "What are you talking about?" with crying, laughing emojis. Meaning, he locked me up. What are you even talking about at this point? And again, he didn't at Matthew Golden. These dudes must, what do they call it? Vanity search themselves? On Twitter, must type their name in to go see what people are talking about after practice. Stop that nonsense. Don't do that. If you want to do that for a team, like yesterday, for example, last night, Brewers beat the Cubs. I put Cubs into Twitter to see all the angry Cub fans and any audio from the Cubs that I can find. But putting your name in after a training camp practice to see what people are saying, that's a little goofy, don't you think?
Well, maybe he's just putting in Packers. Maybe he's not putting in his name.
He put in Packers.
He might have. I don't know. I don't think you can say he just put in Matthew Golden.
Come on, man. Get out of here. How many tweets you'd have to go through? No way. Nope. I don't believe you. Maybe you're right, but no. I think he put his name in. That's
everything's
what I think
on your For You page, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. All that is curated towards you. So if he's looking at a lot of NFL content, his location's in Green Bay, they're going to show him Green Bay football stuff on his Twitter account. I mean, there's a possibility he didn't do that. I'm not saying he didn't do that, But at the same time, I don't know. I wouldn't just say he's constantly searching his name all the time.
The Brewers got one player at the deadline, and he has not been good. Shelby Miller comes in and probably gives up a home run to Casey, the rookie for the Chicago Cubs, who had his first hit yesterday, a solo shot. Now 6-4 Cubs. Miller's going to fall out of favor here quickly with Pat Murphy. I'm just telling y'all, this is not going to last very long. If he continues to give up runs the way he's been giving up runs since he's gotten here, this is not going to last very long for Shelby Miller in a Brewers uniform.
No, which is...
I know he's a veteran. I know he had a sub-2 ERA before that injury, but, dude, enough.
It's a little unfortunate because so far, this whole team, Chris Hook, has been able to develop every single pitcher that's walked in here. You want to give him a little bit more time, but this isn't like last year when you had to put a Dallas Keuchel into a situation where you were desperate to get just somebody on the mound at any point here. He's kind of expendable at this point. That was a trade to see if you could get something or anything out of him, and if it's not going to work, they're going to move on quick from you because everybody else has worked out pretty quick.
That's correct. They've got guys that can get outs, and regardless of who you are and how long you've been in the league, they're not going to wait. So 6-4 Cubs now, bottom of 6, 1 out at Wrigley Field. All right, back to our training camp update. Again, Green and Gold update brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Have a good throw downfield, a deep downfield. Malik Willis to Luke Musgrave for a big game. That's obviously is a good thing. Got a Sean Clifford interception to Javon Bullard. Can't imagine that's all that big of a surprise at this point. Love starts 8 of 8 in 7-on-7. But it's 7-on-7. So how much do you read into 7-on-7 and what the numbers are, right? I mean, I don't know. I would think this is advantage wide receiver and quarterback more than it is cornerback in 7-on-7 drills.
That's one of the biggest problems with a lot of these one-on-one drills, no matter if it's the 7-on-7 like you're talking about or one-on-one pass pro with offensive and defensive line. Usually one side or the other just has an extremely unfair advantage in this. On 7-on-7s, it's that the wide receivers can constantly just run wherever they want. The D-backs don't have linebackers for the most part. They're usually the outside quicker guys. Like an Isaiah Simmons is going to be in on a 7-on-7 type of drill. But it's not going to be the normal style run back or linebackers. For a one-on-one with offensive and defensive line, the defensive linemen have a huge advantage because usually an offensive lineman isn't on an island on his own, at least in that respect. If a defensive end tries to cut across his face, he has an offensive guard there. Not in that drill. It's the same thing for wide receivers and cornerbacks.
It's a great point. Charlie using over there, Sparky with you, talking about this team period here for the, not team, 7-on-7s for Jordan Love, ending with a bomb to Dobbs for a deep touchdown with Valentine beat on the play. And again, there's more to it. I'm not going to read every single throw that he made, but that is from Andy Herman. Catch him on the Pack a Day Radio Show weekday mornings from 8 to 9. More notes from Andy Herman. LVN meets Golden in the backfield on an end around in team. Dobbs with a nice catch on the sideline and a comeback from Malik Willis. Adrian Cooper with a sack on Willis coming off the edge against Zach Tom. And as Andy Herman put it, Coop is just so damn fast. That is going to be something to watch this year as far as how aggressive are they using Adrian Cooper as far as blitzing the quarterback on a game-by-game basis. How much are they going to send him?
I feel like you have to send him a lot if your defensive line is going to be like it was last season, where you don't get enough pressure from 4 to 5 guys that you're putting up on the line of scrimmage. If that's the case, then I think Adrian Cooper has to be blitzing a lot of the time in order to help them out a little bit. At the same time, Lucas Van Ness has looked pretty good this offseason so far. Rashawn Gary has had his moments. You've seen it. Kenny Clark come back healthy now. Hopefully you can finally get some kind of production out of a group that's been together for 3 years now.
Yeah, no question about that. More from Andy Herman. Now listen to this. Matt LaFleur calls his shot before the play, and it ends with a bomb from Malik Willis to Matthew Golden on a deep post for a touchdown. Andy Herman said that was awesome. What does that mean? Does LaFleur just come on and go, touchdown right here, y'all? Going to be a touchdown right here. Here we go. And then it happens? Is that what's happening?
That's exactly what he does. I had coaches that have done that before if they're really confident in a play call or something.
Man, if I'm defense, I'm like, man, shut up.
That's the point. That's what you want. So even if the defense goes out there and breaks it up, then you're like, oh, look, I got the defense fired up. They were mad at me because I'm over here calling my shot and stuff. If it works out, you go,
But
Yep,
you're the
that's
head
me.
coach.
He's the offensive coordinator too, if we're being honest. Adam
listen.
Stenavich is out there,
Okay,
but
but if we're you're saying in high school or college or both?
both, man.
Because I could see Jed Kennedy's
He did that more
doing
than
it at
anybody.
Brooks Central.
And he was more of a defensive guy, so he's always like, "Yeah, we're sending Reggie here, we're sending Blake here. Yeah, you can't stop it. Don't worry about it."
I could definitely see Jed Kennedy calling stuff. Ain't no question about that. All right, some more stuff here. 2-minute drill. 1:30 left, down 7. One timeout, 1st and 10. Love complete over the middle, clock ticks. Love complete down the field to Dobbs, clock ticks. Incomplete, 2nd and 10. 52 seconds left. Swing pass to Brooks for about 4, clock ticks, timeout. Love to Hicks complete, out of bounds, 1st down. Love incomplete over the middle. Practice ends out of nowhere. Not sure why. I'll tell you why. Because the offense can't beat this damn defense. Man, it has been this way all of camp. Love and that first string offense, when they get to these 2-minute drill periods to end camp, have had their problems throughout training camp.
It's kind of unfortunate because I think when we look at games last season, when they were forced into those short time situations, you saw some play calling errors, you saw some mistakes by the players on the field. I've talked about this before with this Packers team. We're seeing still a lot of wide receiver drops from this squad. You're still seeing a lot of penalties from that offensive line. Those were both issues last year, and short time situations were an issue last year. It's kind of scary to see that all 3 of those things are issues so far this year, too.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, nothing has really changed or gotten better other than we think Matthew Golden's a stud. But outside of that, we haven't really seen anything else really change our minds. Isaiah Simmons, for as much as we all liked Isaiah Simmons, a linebacker they took a flyer on, based on everybody that watches film, nobody has said anything positive. A lot of, oh my God, he is horrible on the field defensively. Like, he is bad defensively. So we went from, oh man, this could be one of the most athletic linebacking units in the field to yesterday, Tyrone Hopper taking his snaps in front of him in practice for the first time the whole camp.
Which isn't unfair. I think you look at Isaiah Simmons and say, yeah, it's exciting that he was such a high draft pick and that the Packers were able to get him for so cheap. There's a reason they got him for so cheap.
Damn
There's
right.
a reason no other team wanted to give him a contract and he was still sitting in free agency as training camp got going. I mean, there's a lot of issues with a player like that, especially when he spent 5 seasons with a team like Arizona who didn't have a good defense and no defensive coordinator around him to help him out. He's kind of been messed up at this point. I don't really know what we expected that much. Tyron Hopper is at least a player that the Packers drafted. That's a player that they wanted for sure, not a guy that you're taking a flyer on. I think, honestly, I'd rather see him get those snaps at the end of the day because that's just says something about Brian Gutekunst and his ability to draft still.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's well said. He is Charlie User, C. Sparky Fifer with you. Coming up next, we'll look at the Chicago Bears. Lorin Cox, host of Locked On Bears. He also covers the Badgers for SI. Weird tandem there. I don't think I've ever talked to a Bears and a Badgers guy before, but we're going to do it for the first time. Up next with Lorin Cox. Don't forget, Wendy's is the place to go. And as we've been talking about for so long, the swirls and the Frosty Fusions. If you love Wendy's classic chocolate and vanilla Frosty flavors, there's some big news. There are all new Frosty Swirls and now Frosty Fusions. Same creamy treat you've always loved. Now with a flavor refresh. So, what are the flavors? Okay, well, the Frosty Swirls we know, right? Strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel. Those are the 3. Now with Frosty Fusions, you have the Oreo brownie, the caramel crunch has like pieces of toffee in it, and then Pop-Tart strawberry. So clock in for sweet treat time with Wendy's. All new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic. It's got to be Wendy's. I was at Wendy's last night. Went to Wendy's for dinner. You want to know what I got?
What'd you get?
The family-sized chili at Wendy's last night for me and Kay. That's what we had last night for dinner.
Nice.
And for the first time, you're going to laugh at me. For the first time, I tried the Wendy's sour cream in the chili. One note. It like floats because it's so cold or whatever else when it comes out. So you kind of like got to break it up into the as you take spoonsful of chili. I kind of dug it. I was all right with it. I was all right with that. First of all, the chili at Wendy's is on fire. Like, good luck finding a better chili anywhere you go eat somewhere. That chili is amazing. Now you could say your own homemade chili is better. Whatever. I'm just saying if you go somewhere to sit down and have chili, I will take Wendy's chili 10 out of 10 times, guaranteed. So if you've never had the family style chili at Wendy's, go give it a shot. Lorin Cox, host of Lockdown Bears, up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM on 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Time for your fan weather forecast. 76 degrees and cloudy. Low tonight of 65. Welcome back, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Steve Sparky, Fifer with you. Charlie using over there, other side of the glass, producing today's show. Love having Charlie back. And thanks, Jack Benbrook, for filling in yesterday. Still to come, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Now we turn to YouTube, baby. That's right. Search The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube. We're live streaming all of our shows. We got our shorts up there. We got videos up there. All kinds of great content up at YouTube, The Fan Milwaukee. And you will see the dude who I hope is not driving while doing this, Lorin Cox, host of Locked On Bears. What's going on, Lorin? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, the car is safely parked and not in motion, so hopefully that keeps a good connection here. But thanks so much for having me.
I appreciate you coming on. We'll get to the very weird SI on Badgers thing. I've never had a Badger/Bears guy before, so this is a first time for me, Lorin, from that perspective. But we talked about the Vikings earlier with Paul Farrington from the Paul Farrington Show on YouTube at 2:40. I want to get your thoughts on the Bears. I can't imagine Bears fans could be any happier than they were after what they saw in their last game against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, that was a really a coming to fruition of what had been kind of a nervous training camp where a lot of ups and downs from Caleb Williams on the offense, a lot to work through, and throwing a lot on his plate, and just feeling like, how well is this quarterback going to be able to pick it up? But I think we saw them sort of throw everything at him and then narrow it down for the actual game day experience. And then, when you go from having 100 things on your plate to 10, it's a lot easier to be really good at those fewer things.
Yeah, that obviously makes a lot of sense. The other thing they brought up in that broadcast was how much Ben Johnson really has been all over Caleb Williams as far as, yelling and screaming and carrying on about, like you said, the little things, wanting him to be at 70% completion percentage or higher in each training camp practice. And the fact that they're keeping track of this throughout training camp, and he still hasn't gotten there to this point. And the fact that now he's starting to catch on and figure this out. If I'm a guy on the offensive side of the football for the Bears that was there last year, I'm thinking to myself, where was this last year trying to coach this kid up?
Yeah, it definitely feels like a strong contrast of coaching styles, right? Where last year was a little bit more like, I wouldn't say like laissez-faire, but kind of just, trying to kind of hold everything together and just sort of get through the season. And now it's more like, hey, we've got some time and some patience here to say, let's really be sticklers about all the little things, knowing that we can afford for there to be some bumps along the way, right? There's not jobs on the line and people trying to secure their own future contract. It's like, let's build this out for the long term and not just say we got to maximize everything right now.
So with Lorin Cox, Locked On Bears podcast. Follow him on Twitter at Cox, COX Sports 1. Lorin, let's talk more about this Bears offense. Loveland at tight end, obviously, is the guy that was drafted. And I know some Bears fans, and they all kind of shook their head like, we have a tight end in Cole Kmet. What are we doing now? But you could see a little bit in this last game what the plan is, and him and Kmet together could be a dangerous duo.
Yeah, I think for the Bears in the draft, it was about just who's the best player available. And I think at the 10th spot, it was one of two tight ends, either Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren. So either way, you were going to get stuck with another player at a position where you had a player you like, but why not add another weapon? Especially for Ben Johnson's offense, they want to put multiple tight ends on the field and run the ball behind them and then work play action off of that. And I think Ben Johnson sees Colston Loveland a little bit more in like the Sam Laporta role with the Lions, whereas Kmet's not quite as dynamic of an athlete, but they feel like, wow, Kmet can also be a better blocker and a big-bodied inline tight end, and feel like you got a couple different threats that you can line up all over the offense and kind of give you that dual dynamic of blocking and pass catching that wide receivers just can't quite give you.
This wide receiver room for the Chicago Bears, you've got DJ Moore, obviously the older guy, but then you've got some young talent behind them that has the potential to really develop with Caleb Williams here over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I think this is all about that long-term vision that we were talking about, right? Not just building up for this season, but saying, hey, like, yes, we want to be better this year, but also we want to be planning this out for the next 3 to 4 years to really maximize all of Williams' rookie contract here while he's still affordable. But I think they're going to bring along Luther Burden a little bit more slowly. I think because he missed a lot of the offseason with an injury that wasn't really ready to go until training camp. So it's been trying to kind of bring him up, and they've liked one of the veteran free agents they signed, Olamide Zaccheaus, has kind of quickly become one of Caleb Williams' best friends. So they've kind of approached this from a sense of like, let's just put all these weapons in here, and we don't have to figure out necessarily who's going to play what just yet. We'll just enjoy the abundance, and then over time figure out how to split up the targets properly.
The other part about this is that Bears offensive line, and how good of a job they're going to do. We saw Ben Johnson the other day say similar things to what the Packers have been saying, which is, yeah, nobody really has won the left tackle job yet. We're waiting to see somebody take the left tackle job. How comfortable do Bears fans feel right now about that position?
I would say the comfort level is medium. It's tricky right now. So, I mean, the whole point of the offseason was to rebuild that offensive line and to, really solidify the position to leave no question marks. So then you go to training camp and all of a sudden a question mark pops up at left tackle, and they think they're left waiting for Braxton Jones, their incumbent starter, to really get 100% healthy and recovered from offseason ankle surgery he had. He's kind of said he's not quite 100% yet, and he hasn't quite looked like fully himself, but they're trying to be as patient as they can while creating some competition at that position. So I think there's still an optimism that by week 1, they'll feel a little bit more confident and settled, and that at least they feel like they have some backup plans that they saw compete throughout training camp.
Lorin Cox, host of Locked On Bears. Follow him on Twitter at Cox Sports 1. Joining us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Fan. Steve Sparky Fifer with you. Defensive side of the ball was probably more of a bright spot. Maybe the offensive side of the ball was at times last year. How are the feelings around that side of the ball coming into this year?
Yeah, that was a group that felt like it underachieved a little bit last year. So there was a feeling that in general, they could bounce back without having to make too many drastic changes. And so a lot of the hope is on the shoulders of defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, who was the head coach for the Saints and the Raiders before that. And there's a feeling like this scheme is going to be a lot more aggressive, which should fit better, at least with some of the pieces they have in the secondary. They're going to play more man coverage. They got quarterbacks who are long, physical, who maybe weren't quite perfect scheme fits for Matt Eberflus's softer zone defense of years past. So the feeling is like, yeah, they've got some question marks up front from a pass rush standpoint, but they think Allen can be a little bit more aggressive with blitzing and then man coverage to the back end to maybe give the pass rush a little bit more time to get home, and that formula can make up for whatever deficiencies they might still have.
One last one for you on the Bears. What are thoughts by Bears fans as far as how this season plays out? When we talked with Paul Farrington, the Paul Farrington Show earlier on YouTube, talking about the Vikings, he said he thinks right now the realistic expectation is maybe the Vikings contend for a wild card spot this year, and that's probably the ceiling for what the Vikings are going to be. How do you look at it for the Bears?
Yeah, that's a similar ceiling, right? I don't think I set like the expectations of they should make a wild card this year, but right, I think most of the over/unders are set about 8.5 wins, which would put them right at the 500 that doesn't exist anymore. And to me, yeah, they're an 8 or 9 win team where, on the TV graphics, they're going to be in the hunt all the way through the end of the season. And week 18 against the Detroit Lions, maybe that's a win and you're in type game, or it's like you fall just short because of tiebreakers, and maybe even 9 wins is still third place in this NFC North. So I don't think playoffs are like the expectations, but it feels like a more realistic goal to aim for than it has been the last few seasons.
All right, one last one for you here on the Badgers, since you cover the Badgers for SI as well. Your thoughts on Edwards at quarterback, your thoughts on Grimes as the offensive coordinator, and what realistic expectations are for what this offense is going to look like.
Yeah, I think as long as he can stay healthy, Edwards should be one of the more consistent quarterbacks we've seen the last handful of seasons. Like, I'm not expecting him to be some like breakout star that takes them to the Rose Bowl like we've seen past breakout quarterbacks do. But I think there's a certain level of like maturity and understanding of just like getting back to taking care of the football, and I think making fewer mistakes than we've seen even underwhelming Wisconsin Badgers quarterbacks of the past do. I mean, I'm not expecting great things from Jeff Grimes given the track record, but I think they'll get back to running the football and playing some of these lower scoring, hard fought games, which when you have a schedule like this against, Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, Minnesota, Michigan, etc., maybe you're better off playing the time of possession a little bit and not letting those offenses have the ball very much and try and kind of slug them out to a 9-6 finish. I mean, I still don't think this team is going to be, pushing for anything major this season. I think a 500 finish for Luke Fickell this year would be a really big step forward given what's on the plate for them.
I'm anticipating 4 or 5 wins. Having said that, is this offensive line good enough to win slugfest? Is this offensive line nasty enough to run the ball against Ohio State and Alabama and these teams?
I think when they're healthy, they can be. But right now, Jake Renfro is sadly with an injury, and they're still trying to figure out.
He's always hurt. Renfro has been hurt almost every day he's been here since he got here from Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I'm not confident that the transfer left tackle Davis Heinzen is going to be anything super special. He was not phenomenal at Central Michigan, but he's their plan B also because they're starting left tackles out with a torn ACL. So I think when healthy, they can get the job done against the Big Ten teams that you should be able to beat. But there's going to be a noticeable talent gap between the Alabama defensive line and the Ohio State defensive line.
Can we just skip this year and get to 26? I'm just dreading watching the Badgers this year. There he is, Lorin Cox, host of Locked On Bears, covers the Badgers for SI as well. Follow him on Twitter at CoxSports1. I appreciate you coming on, Lorin. We'll have you on during the season.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. Anytime.
You betcha. Take care. There he is, Lorin Cox, joining us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all. Coming up, we'll get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Don't forget, Potawatomi Sportsbook is there for you, including getting you to and from Brewers home games. That's right. They have shuttles that start 1 hour before every game and go all the way to 1 hour after every game. Now, I know, what's the catch, Sparky? Okay, the catch is this. You have to either make a same-day bet when you're there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, or just make a purchase at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and that gets you onto the shuttle to and from the game. Again, free parking at the parking garage of the Potawatomi Sportsbook. You're not going to pay $25 or $30 a holler like you would if you're going to a game at American Family Field. So take advantage of it. And again, if you just bet on the Brewers every time you go, the way they're playing, you're going to win more than you're going to lose. And it's going to be a profitable rest of the season for you when you go to Brewers games, courtesy of the shuttles at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. For more information on that, go to potawatomi.com/sportsbook. Brewers down right now 6-4, top of 8. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. Football Talk on The Fan is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday on CBS and Paramount Plus all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. And the Green Bay Packers are going to scrimmage the Seattle Seahawks this week prior to playing their game against the Seahawks this weekend. And it's going to be fun to see how they decide to go about this. I'm not seeing anybody talk about Jordan Love and this scrimmage. We asked Ryan Wood about this yesterday from the Green Bay Press-Gazette, and he said, I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. If it's me, he ain't playing in no damn scrimmage. Ain't no chance, because I don't trust the Seahawks defenders to lay off and not hit him. I don't care if you got a red jersey on him or not. I still wouldn't put him out there, Charlie.
Again, if you're not going to play him in that scrimmage, why are we bothering putting bags around him in regular practice then, too? I mean, again, this just doesn't make any sense to me. If he's good enough to play and says he can go out there and play, let him play. I don't really care if you don't trust the Seahawks defenders. If he's not good enough to play, then don't let him play at all during these practices. He should be the guy that you believe in to be your franchise quarterback at this point. You should trust that he'll be okay when he comes back without the 1 to 2 extra days of practice.
No, I'm not. No. I mean, you could have your take, and that's fine. I'm going to have my take, which is they're doing the smart thing here and protect that dude with everything you have to make sure he does not get hurt at this point. That is the number one thing. Just like going into that last game with Marshawn Lloyd. Do you remember what I said? I said I wouldn't play him in the game. I wouldn't play him in any of these scrimmages. Keep him healthy towards week 1. They didn't listen. They played Marshawn Lloyd, and Marshawn Lloyd hurt his hamstring. Literally had this conversation on Friday before they played that game this weekend that I wouldn't play Marshawn Lloyd. And he's hurt again. And it sucks.
And I also told you that he's not good enough to be given that type of treatment. He isn't. He doesn't deserve Jordan Love treatment. He hasn't shown you that he has deserved
it's not Jordan Love treatment. It's you're hurt all the time, and I got to make sure you don't get hurt.
You got to make sure he can play football, too, which right now you don't.
Play football,
how do you know? You haven't seen him play in a year and a half.
Oh, fine. You don't lose talent. Like, it's not Space Jam. Somebody doesn't just steal your talent.
Isaiah Simmons, we were just talking about that. Yeah, Sounds like the Cardinals stole his talent real fast.
Yeah, but he stunk there, too. Like you said earlier, there's a
reason
you
still
got
a first-round pick who was a stud.
That's true. Oh, all right. You got me there. That's fine. All right, fine. Let's see if you can get me again.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on The Fan.
Pete Crow Armstrong just trying to steal second, and William Contreras with a cannon. Joey Ortiz slaps him on the butt going by. Yeah, that's second base. That was beautiful.
Well, what's crazy is even if he didn't get the ball there in time, Pete Crow Armstrong overslid the base again.
Well, that's the thing. That's just his signature. That's his signature move.
It should not be. It shouldn't be nobody's signature move.
It's his signature move. I mean, that's what it is. If you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Pete Crow Armstrong oversliding second base, and you'll see. He ever slid second base, what was it, last week, by like 5 feet?
Pretty bad, yeah.
It was horrible. All right, Charlie's Sounds of the Day brought to you by Prize Picks. Of course, download the Prize Picks app today. Use code Sparky after your first $5 lineup. Once you make that $5 lineup in, they give you $50. So again, if you take $5 every time you do a lineup with Daily Fantasy Sports with Prize Picks, that means you can play 11 times at $5 a lineup, and it's going to cost you $5. Now, why in the world would anybody do that? Even if you're like, Sparky, I don't ever win anything. I don't know what you're talking about. Dude, $5.
I'm asking if you ever thought...
What was that? $5. I got it. $5, and you can play like 11 times for $5. And then if you don't win, if you lose all of those times, okay, fine, I get it. Quit. But you're not going to... I can't imagine you're going to lose all 11 times unless you're me and Charlie. That is very possible. But otherwise, you should have better luck than us. All right, so having said that, top 3 sound clips of the day. What say you?
So what we just accidentally heard there was Pat Murphy on 670 Score, our friends down in Chicago, and Mully and Haw. He was on there discussing Craig Counsell leaving the Brewers to go to Chicago, and if he ever felt like he would follow along. This was Pat Murphy's answer.
I'm asking if you ever thought you'd wind up in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, Counsell and I talked about it. He only had about, he got contacted and took the job. It all happened in a day. And people think it was a long, drawn-out process and it was always in the works. No, it wasn't. Jed Hoyer followed the thing to a T. You know what I mean? He knew he couldn't contact Counsell until a certain date, and he didn't. And I obviously got involved in that and was had no idea if the Brewers would be interested. And you guys paid for the right guy. I mean, he's special. So I was definitely considering it.
No, they didn't. I mean, it's nice of you to help your friend say they paid for the right guy. But I'm not quite sure Cub fans agree with you at this point about the trader. I think Cub fans now are saying, is it really the manager in Milwaukee? Is that really what this was all about this whole time? Because this next guy came in, and he's doing better than the guy that we got, that we bought, that we thought, oh, this was going to solve everything. Here we go. And now the dude that replaced him is doing better than that guy. Not only is he doing better than that guy, they had the best record in all of freaking baseball. And we have been playing sub 500 baseball for quite some time now in Chicago. Again, there's only two teams with over a 100-run differential in baseball, the Cubs and the Brewers. The Brewers are getting closer to doubling up everybody in baseball in run differential at that point. If you don't know what run differential is, it just means you've scored that many more runs than you've given up throughout the course of the year. There are some teams with like negative 40s or negative 50s, right? They've given up so many more runs than they've actually scored. The Brewers are like 170 plus runs over the course of a year. So that's amazing. And only one other team's over 100, that's the Cubs. So this is not to say that the trader has been horrible, but I remember the tweet I read earlier in the year when it was 6.5. I'm pretty sure it was either 5.5 or 6.5 when we read the tweet. And the person said, if they lose this division by 10 to Murphy and the Brewers after being up by 6.5, Hoyer and Counsell should both be fired. Well, I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but don't look now. All of a sudden, well, even though you and I were like, dude, there is no way they're winning this division by 10 down 6.5. And all of a sudden, fast forward, they might win this division by 10 or more.
Which is just absolutely absurd. Because the same way that we talk about the Brewers and how quickly they went and flipped the script there, I mean, the Cubs, they're in kind of the opposite boat of the Brewers. They had that huge lead, and then they lost it all, and nobody has any faith in the Cubs. Right. Again, it's just the way the team views themselves, the way that the fan bases view the team really does change the momentum a lot for organizations, especially a place like Chicago where if everybody is down on you, you feel that, man. It's not New York, it's not Philadelphia, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, clip 2.
Next up here, we're going to head over to Quarterback on Netflix, a docuseries that follows NFL quarterbacks. In this recent season, they were following Jared Goff, so they went with the Los Angeles Rams back to 2023, where they were at Cowboys training camp, where Jerry Jones and Rams president Demoff had a discussion about the Matthew Stafford trade that involved Jared Goff, and Jerry Jones had an interesting opinion on the trade.
Jerry said it best in the press conference. He goes, I'm tired of winning the season. He goes, I want to win at the end of the season in the playoff.
And I don't have the balls to put it all out there the way y'all did on that quarterback. I won't do that. Let's go up here where we can see better. Yeah.
So Jerry Jones says he wouldn't have had the balls to make that trade the way the Rams did with the Jared Goff deal. Now, you see, this is exactly why Cowboy fans get mad at this dude, right? And you will never hear, I don't think, Mark Antonaccio make a similar statement about not going all in for somebody. I don't think you'll ever hear Brian Gutekunst make a similar statement to going all in on somebody. But I'm here to tell you, it applies to both of them. Neither one of them would ever go all in the way that we're talking about the Rams going all in. You remember? They were trading around number one draft picks like they were Tootsie Rolls. Like, oh, sure, you have one, and you have one, and you have one. We don't want any of them. We don't need them. That's how they went about their business. That's how they approached it. That is not how the Brewers approach their business. That is not how the Packers approach their business. That is how John Horst and the Bucs approach their business. But the other two have not done that, well, in a long, long time. The Bucs have a championship. The Brewers do not. The Packers have one, but it wasn't with this regime. So, to me, that is something to look at as well. That sometimes the risk can pay off. Sometimes it'll backfire, and sometimes you'll get fired over making that big risk. But if it pays off, who cares about the draft picks if you're wearing a Super Bowl ring, Charlie?
That's exactly what it comes down to. And I think as an owner like Jerry Jones, who is so invested in his team, which is something that I don't think a lot of other owners across any professional sport are as invested in their team as Jerry Jones is, you would think that matters a lot to him. Not just about how much you're paying guys or how much some of these dudes are succeeding on and off the field, because he hasn't really cared about that a lot in the past. He cares about his players. He loves Dak Prescott. That's why he paid Dak Prescott the money that he did. He didn't really love CeeDee Lamb. He doesn't really love Micah Parsons, so he's not paying them that money. You would think a Super Bowl would mean something to a guy that has that type of connection with his team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Third clip.
All right, and last up here, we're going to head over to Monday Night Football on ESPN, where Adam Schefter and crew, along with guys like Jason Kelsey and all these other former players, were discussing Joe Flacco earning the #1 quarterback job in Cleveland.
Easy to go with Joe Flacco. And the question isn't and wasn't going to be who's the starter in Cleveland. The question is who's going to be the backup in Cleveland? Who's going to be the #2 quarterback when they open the season against these Bengals?
I'm going to tell you what, man. Joe Flacco must have the faith of a mustard seed, right? Because this is the greatest resurrection since Jesus the Christ. Right?
That was Ryan Clark. Is that who that
Correct.
was?
Yep.
They made the wrong decision. They just did. I would have cut Flacco. See ya. I'm done. Shedeur, you're starting. Let's see what happens. I'm done. This is a complete waste of time. It's a complete waste of time having Joe Flacco out there. You're wasting money, and you're wasting everybody's time. He's not taking you to the Super Bowl. You're not building for the future. You have two young guys. Dylan Gabriel is not look good. And you have Shedeur Sanders. What happens? Shedeur Sanders goes out there, you lose a bunch of games, and you maybe get Arch Manning or somebody else. Okay, fine. But then you move on and you at least know what you have. But instead, now you have Joe Flacco. Now, I don't know how long Flacco's going to start, but let's say Flacco starts, 5-6 weeks. And then okay, we're going to go to Dylan Gabriel. And then he starts 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, now we're going to go to Shedeur to wrap up the year. And nobody got a fair chance at the job. Complete disaster. When you're that bad, right? When you're the worst team in football, you play the young dude. You don't waste your time on a senior citizen at quarterback. And that's exactly what this clown show was doing. This is exactly why they're the worst team in football, Charlie.
Well, this is what happens when your front office and your team and your coaching staff and the ownership, none of them are on the same page. From all reports, the front office did not want Shedeur Sanders at all. It was all ownership that wanted Shedeur Sanders on this team.
Going into day 3 said, you're taking Shedeur.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what happens. And I would go out on a limb here and say the coaching staff doesn't really want Shedeur out there either. But at the same time, then you go and you stick it to him by putting Joe Flacco out there instead. Now it just looks like, again, like you're saying, a complete clown show from everybody involved here. I mean, Joe Flacco is out here. He's the only person who's winning in this entire situation because he gets to be paid to be bad. He does not care how he plays this season. He could not care less about if he's the worst quarterback in the league or the best quarterback in the league because he's making a lot of money. That's literally the only reason Joe Flacco's out there. He's come out and said basically that when he said he didn't want to mentor any young players. He didn't want to be a leader for this team. He just wanted to go out there and get a paycheck. That's insane that you would reward that. That's nuts. I would rather start Kenny Pickett over that because at least he's trying to make a name for himself.
And he's going to get cut.
Exactly.
Kenny Pickett's getting cut.
This is all just absolutely absurd from this organization, especially an organization that has a 5th quarterback on this roster that's making more money than almost anybody in the NFL by just sitting on the bench as well. This is just nuts. What are we doing here?
Yep, I agree. The Brewers are not winning. That's what they're doing. The Brewers lose 6-4. They had runners on first and second with 1 out. And William Contreras knocks into a double play to end the game. So the Cubs get game 1 of a 2-game doubleheader. Patrick on the loss. He didn't look good from the jump in this one. Boyd on the win. Palencia on the save. And we'll get to your calls, your thoughts on the Brewers losing to the Cubs today 6-4. First, let me tell you about our friends over there at Prize Picks. While baseball is going on, football season is here as well. Preseason football, college football, all of that stuff is all of a sudden upon us. And daily fantasy with Prize Picks is the way to go. It's free to download. Do it today. And if you download the Prize Picks app today and use code SPARKY, SPARKY, you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So if you play $5 on your lineup, they'll give you another $50 for playing 5. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on a 2 to 6 player stat projection. If you get your picks right, you could cash and win up to 2,000 times your money. Plus, Prize Picks invented the Flex Play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't correct. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Take advantage of it today. And don't forget, you can do season-long projections. So not only can you get in on Green Bay and Seattle this weekend and do daily stat projections on, whoever is playing for Green Bay or Seattle coming up this weekend, but you can also do season-long stat projections, right? More or less on total yards Jordan Love's going to throw. More or less on total receiving yards for Romeo Doubs or Josh Jacobs rushing yards. Take advantage of it today. Download the PrizePicks app and use code SPARKY, SPARKY, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code SPARKY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. Coming up, other side, top of the hour, we'll take your calls, your tweets on a Brewers loss to the Chicago Cubs today. Dial it up. Let's talk about it. Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Record a voice message, sound off on the Odyssey app, and of course, we can play it back on the air if you do that. That's all straight ahead. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.